Welcome to the Ike Pickett Show. It's good to see you here. My name is Ike Pickett. Well, it's not my real name, but I have used that name for my songs and performances for many years, so it seems right to keep it that way. You might call it my alter ego. I have some more important trend information, and I'll share a favorite poem with you today, so let's go. You know, the internet is a wonderful thing. It's used now for countless modern day projects. I guess the thing that I see as most important is the information and the distribution of information that used to be only acquired in schools and libraries and from personal experience. Now we have information at our fingertips, in our private rooms, at home, and at work. Everybody knows that now. I've lived for more than 8/10 of a century now. I've been a lot of places, done a lot of things, and I've had a life of adventure doing many things that I wanted to do. And like everybody else, I've learned a lot of stuff from my experience. But more importantly, I've made a lot of choices. I've had to. Some good choices, and I've made some bad ones. I ran around with a chip on my shoulder in my youthful years, and I made a lot of choices, good and bad. A good share of the time, because of the choices I made, I had to learn things the hard way. I'm no different than anybody else with that one, I guess. We all learn as we go. Hopefully, we're improved by our experiences, both good and bad. I still don't know if riding bulls and bareback horses was good or bad. I know it was exciting and dangerous, but so was flying experimental airplanes. I did that too. I've also made some good choices. How do you tell the difference? That's a good question that I'll deal with in today's podcast. I've always loved history and what can be learned from history. I hope we can all learn from mistakes that we made in the past and the mistakes of others. But I see a lot of good stuff missed, or at least not talked about on most podcasts. I don't watch the mainstream news much anymore because I have a bitter distaste for propaganda. I see a lot of opinions about the conditions of the world on social media platforms in this age of information. You can't believe everything you hear on podcasts either, but it's cleaner now than mainstream media. In fact, podcasting may be the real mainstream media in this new age of information. As the historian and filmmaker Ken Burns once said, there has always been fake news. The trick for us all is how to tell the difference. I have my favorites. I have great respect for people like Victor Davis Hanson, Robert Breedlove, Michael Saylor, Max Kaiser, and others who have had the courage to view history and current conditions with the attitude to fix things. I could name a lot more like that. However, I don't hear any of them talking much about the core issues that have caused the modern day chaos. So I'll venture into the deep water that contains the core of all life's experience and purposes. You won't all like this stuff, but it's a matter of life and death these days, and I'm not going to preach to you, only truth and reason. When Allen Dulles, the first director of the CIA, was asked if he was worried about what the American people would think about the Warren Report that was produced after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, his reply was, "The American people don't read." Unfortunately, he was right about that to a great degree. History has taught us a lot if we read it. One of the most important historical documents, and probably one of the least read, the most important historical document of all time, is the Bible. It could be said that the most important purpose of the Bible was to testify of Christ. I believe that's true, but it also has a very important historical and prophetic purpose that is largely missed by those who don't read it, study it, and ponder those things that they read. The United States was founded on Christian principles by the founders who believed the Bible to be the Word of God. Those principles were well defined in the Bible and were the principles that were used in the creation of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of this new country. The founders formed by design a constitutional republic with representation of the people through the delegation of representatives to make their voices heard by a government. It was never intended by the founders to be a democracy. That doesn't mean that Republicans are always right and Democrats are always wrong. It means that the government was intended to be run by righteous people, not by autocratic narcissists with their own agencies and agendas and with no thought for the people other than to control them. The constitutional republic was not nor could not be used by any other than a righteous people. It could not possibly work by any other means. So it's extremely important for government delegates and leaders to continue to remain Christian and to remain familiar with the Bible in order to constitutionally preserve the freedom of the people as designed by the founders. In the words of an anonymous person, and published about 1805 by Elias Smith and Abner Jones in Boston, as far as we know, this musical version is included in the hymns of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The highly informative poem goes like this. Know this, that every soul is free to choose his life and what he'll be. For this eternal truth is given, that God will force no man to heaven. He'll call, persuade, direct all right, bless with wisdom, love, and light. In nameless ways be good and kind, but he'll never force the human mind. Freedom and reason makes us men. Take these away, what are we then? Mere animals, just as well. The beasts may think of heaven or hell. May we no more our powers abuse, but ways of truth and goodness choose. Our God is pleased when we improve his grace and seek his perfect love. It's my free will for to believe. 'Tis God's free will, me to receive. To stubborn willers this I'll tell, it's all free grace and all free will. Those that despise grow harder still. Those that adhere, he turns their will. And thus despisers sink to hell, while those that hear in glory dwell. But if we take the downward road, and make in hell our last abode, our God is clear, and we shall know we pledged ourselves in endless woe. It's not what a country does or what the government of a country does that matters. The only thing that matters are the choices that individuals make and follow, regardless of governments or institutions. We need to stand before our Maker clean and responsible. That's why all good men must be free. Individual choice is all that matters in the long run. Thanks for being here today. I'll address comments and questions on my website at enforcefreedom.org. Please let me know what you think. This is Ike Pickett, wishing you a peaceful life and a restful night. I'll see you soon on my next podcast.